With Kontakt Scripting, instruments can have custom control panels called performance views. This allows you to control instrument settings without switching into edit mode and allows you to create a custom user interface. In this video tutorial, I will show you how to create a performance view that lets you control a reverb in an instrument effects slot. And never miss a tutorial by subscribing to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/ADSR So if you've been following this little series that we've been doing on performance view, you've seen how to make a knob for a 3-band EQ. You've seen how to make a filter, make a knob for a filter in the instrument bus. Today we're going to expand on that and make a knob that allows you to control the settings of a delay in the instrument send effect slot. So if you've been following along, you'll kind of see how this is extremely similar to all the other knobs that we've done, but this shows you how to access effect slots that are in the send effect slot. So let's get started. So of course, you make a new instrument. Everybody should know where we're going with this. Go to the script editor, edit, bam, and you've guessed it, on init and on. Okay, so this is, you can actually copy and paste. If you've been following along, you can actually copy and paste any of the scripts that we've done so far for knobs. And I actually encourage you to do so, because whenever you start from scripting, if you're going to be making something that's similar to something else you've been doing, it's easier to just start with that. That way you don't have to keep typing the same old thing over and over again. But for somebody not joining or somebody joining in for the first time, I'm going to type it so that you guys can see it. So of course, you make the perf view. So the command is make perf view. I like to set the script title. I like to clear any messages that we might have here. This is where the messages go. And just hit apply just to make sure there aren't any issues. And it's actually message, not messages, sorry. There you go. So you can see the title populated and the message section got cleared. So now let's go to the fun stuff. We declare our knob. I'm going to call this one time, because the first parameter in the delay send effect is time. So I'm going to call this one knob time. We set the min, we set the max, 2 3 1 2 3, and the display value. Next we're going to move the control. We do a move control, and you guys should know all this by now if you've been following along. It's exactly the same. Then we set the text of the knob. Let's call it time, and hit apply just so you can see the knob. And there is something wrong. I forgot a parentheses, or I have an extra parentheses. Yeah. There you go, venture encoding. It would be kind of cool if this was like a Visual Studio, if it had IntelliSense, but it doesn't. But Nils scripting editor has a form of IntelliSense. So I did another video that showed you how to use Nils KScript editor. So feel free to use that instead of the built-in editor in Kontakt. But for just for purposes of newbies joining in, I think it's good to know how to do it in the script editor first. Okay, I think Nils KScript editor is for a little bit more advanced users. Okay, so there you see our knob time. The next thing that we need to do, well, let's come down here and add the effect so we can kind of see what the parameters are. So we see we have time, damping, pan, feedback. So time is in milliseconds, and it goes from 5 to 2.9K. All right, so let us keep that in mind. So we need to set the display to milliseconds. So you do set knob unit, and I'm gonna go ahead and copy the button name, the knob name, so I don't have to keep typing it. So knob name, then the knob unit. So we want a millisecond, so that is knob unit milliseconds. All right, there you go, knob unit milliseconds. So the next thing that I want to do is set the default value. I'm not going to go through the motions of trying to get the exact default value as the delay. Let's see what that is. So it's 503. I just need to get close. So I'm just going to eyeball it and just say 707, because because 50,000, if you look at the range of the knob, the middle will be about 159. So we need to go over 500,000. So that's where I got the eyeball from. So let's just leave it as is. We can't check it until we connect it to the engine. And that's what we do next. We connect it to the engine. So set knob label, knob time, and we want to get the engine parameter, the text display. So we use engine parameter, get engine parameter display, and the one that we want is for delay. And if you look in the KSP reference, you can see all the other parameters for the other delay parameters. So this one is called DL time. So DL time stands for delay time. Okay, now if you remember about group, slot, and generic, so the group parameter is a zero base index of the group. If you're not using a group, then you use -1. So we'll do -1 here. We're using an instrument send slot. The next one is the slot, and this is a zero base index of the parameter. If you are using group or instrument effects, modulators, or modulation intensities. So for any group or instrument effects, you want to use a slot. So we have, we're in the first slot. So we use 0. And if we weren't using a group or an instrument effect, maybe like a bus or something like that, we would use another parameter, or -1. Okay, then the last one is generic, and this basically specifies whether or not you are using an insert or a send. We are definitely using a send, so we want to be 0. An insert is 1, and a send is 0. And then also, if you were using an instrument bus, you would use the NI bus offset, which we talked about the last video. And then if you were using modulators, you would use the find target command. And we'll make a video that talks about how to access modulators as well. Okay, so for now, 1 for insert, 0 for send. And for anything else outside of those, -1. So -1, 0, 0. All right. And I forgot my parentheses. There we go. So now we just connected the knob to the engine, and as you can see, it picked up the current value, which is 503. So if I change it, there you go. And the reason why this doesn't change when you change it here is because these are basically two separate knobs controlling the same parameter. So the actual parameter inside the engine has changed when you turn this knob. Like when I turn the knob here, it actually changed the engine parameter for time to 1.6. And here even is changed here actually, but the problem is this is just a UI element. So this UI element hasn't been told yet that it's been changed to refresh this label. And there's a command to do that, but the problem with that command is it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of energy to basically constantly keep refreshing the screen just to update this label. That's a high cost function. And what I mean by high cost is it uses a lot of resources to do that. So unless you have something that's really specific that you need this to be updated in real time to reflect this change here, you use it. But otherwise, what you do is you don't bother to use these once you have a knob in the performance view. What you do is use the knob in performance view to make the change. And what that allows you to do, I mean, what we're doing here, this allows us to control these items without having to come here. So that's the whole point. So like I said, I don't recommend using that the update feature, but I will make a video in the future on actually how to make that happen. All right, so one more function I like to call is to make persistent. And what this does is this will let the knob save its value when you save the instrument or when you save your project in your DAW. Okay, so now the knob is connected to the engine. Now we just need to tell it that when the knob moves on UI control knob time, we need to tell it to actually update the engine. Okay, so we're going to call the set engine parameter, and we want to modify engine parameter delay time. All right, and once again we are using no group, 0 slot, and we are using delay. All right, so that sets the engine parameter. What did I do wrong? Engine part delay time. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to pass in the name of the knob. Duh. Here we go. Okay, so now this basically tells the engine to change when I change this knob. Okay, up until now, moving this knob didn't actually do anything. The label was affected by the change here because the engine has been updated, and when I hit apply, it refreshes. So now the next final function that I call is basically telling it, since I've moved this knob, update the engine, but also update this label. So that's what this one does, and it is the same as this one, so you can actually just copy and paste this. So set knob label, there you go. And bingo, now we have a working time knob. And if you look down here, you can see that time is actually being changed. Yay. Okay, so now let's add the damping pan and feedback knob. Okay, so we can just copy all of this. Okay, let's put a little comment here. So this is time. This is damping. All right, so we want to call this one knob damp, and we want to copy this over. So the parameter name for damping is DL damping. All right, paste this, and then we also need a UI control for this new knob. All right, we'll copy this and we'll change this to DL damping. Change this once again. Okay, now the only thing that we need to do with this is we need to put it in a different place. So I'm going to choose grid 2-2. There we go. Oops, forgot to change the time. I mean the label. Damping. Okay, so now we have damping. Now I'm gonna just come back here and see what. So we see that damping goes from 0 to 100. The default value is 20, and it doesn't have a label. So this is something new for us. So when you do knob unit and it doesn't have a label, you use none. Okay, so there you go. Okay, so that was, what was that, 20? Default value of 20, so that's like, I don't know, somewhere between, let's try 250,000 for the default value. Close enough. Let's try 200,000, see what we get. Perfect, there you go. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. All right, so that's the damping knob. Now let's add the next one, which is pan. Okay, so we just changed this name to knob pan. All right, then we paste knob pan, change this to pan, 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 and the engine name for pan is, what do you think? Yeah, pan. Okay, and then we need to make a UI control for it. Pan, 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 pan. And then we need to move it. So we'll put it in grid 3-2. There we go. So now we have pan. And let's see, that's 0 to 100. And default is 20, so that should be fine. So 0, 100, default is 20. There we go. So we have one more knob, feedback. All right, so once again, you can just copy an existing knob. We'll call this one feedback, and just call the knob feedback. Just paste that in. We'll move it to 4-2. I'm just gonna, well, that should fit. I was gonna abbreviate it, but I think feedback should fit. So now we change the unit, and if we come down here to the feedback, we'll see that it's in percent, and the unit, when you use knob unit, is actually percent. Makes sense. Okay, we don't know default value. I'm gonna come back to that, and then make sure I copy these. So knob feedback, feedback, and so the engine parameter for feedback is DL feedback. All right, so then we copy the UI control, copy the button name. All right, change this to feedback, change the button, and change this to feedback. Oops, looks like I changed the wrong thing. So this is pan, damping, pan. Here we go. There we go. Feedback. 0 to 100, 0 to 100. Let me check the default value for feedback. Is 40. So for feedback, I will change this to 3, 4. There we go. So there you have it. Now let's exit instrument edit mode, and now we have a performance view that allows you to control the delay in the instrument delay section. So here you got time, damping, pan, and feedback. All right, so we laid out the controls for delay instrument send, but when you start talking about the send section, you also have access to other controls such as the bypass, dry level, and output gain. So just make sure you check out the KSP reference for the engine parameters for those controls. And don't forget to check out our website at www.kontakttutorials.com for more Kontakt tutorials and sounds. ADSR Kontakt tutorials, supercharge your Kontakt skills. This is DJ Nice signing off until next time. Now go make some music.